Hello, my friends. How are you? Still using my left hand over here. My name is Natasha. I'm the creator and the founder of the Glow Up Method, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. For those of you that are new and just tuning in, you're like, what is she telling me about using my left hand? And for those of you that know, you know. So, one of the biggest premises of the Glow Up Method and my progress has been about like change. It's been about like conscious change. So many times we've heard this myth that nobody changes, like everybody stays the same. And that is true in some cases. It takes like a conscious effort. It takes adjustments. It changes rewiring. It takes changes in rewiring of your brain in order for your change to happen. However, if you want to change and you're willing to not only want but to put in the work and the effort on a consistent, disciplined, daily effort, change is going to happen. And so for me, my default setting, which I often refer to because my dominant hand is my right hand, my default settings that were programmed into me either by myself, in this quest for survival, there is like times are changing. The seasons are changing. The sun is coming in differently. And so here I am trying to figure out the lighting and such. Again, that's on the to-do list. After doing my film reviews, I'm like, I can really use some better lighting and a better background. I just want to improve. It's not about like, I don't know what it's about, but it's like, I cannot figure this out. I'm not like the lighting expert here. But anyways, so much of life is we have these default settings. We have our own unique perspectives on the world based on, the families we're born into, based on, what country we live in, based on our gender, based on our family dynamic, like so many different things we come into this world. And immediately from jump, you have like these certain, things built into you. And then life starts lifing, right? Like all your circumstances, like we were talking about where you live, your gender, like all these things start to come into play as you create this perspective completely unique to you. Again, I could be a twin. In my perspective of this world, while we may have, lived our lives in unison and side by side over here, like very different. And so my whole philosophy is this. It's that change is possible if you want to. And sometimes just wanting it isn't enough. Like when I was 300 pounds and I wanted to lose weight, but yet I sat on the couch eating bonbons, watching Oprah, I wasn't changing. I mean, wanting sometimes is not enough. There's no magical release, 100+ pound fairy that's going to come and, razzle dazzle over my head and suddenly that happen. No, it's going to take a choice. It's going to take following that choice up with action and do it on a consistent basis. Like me exercising one time or making healthy food choices for one meal is not going to result in the results that I wanted. I mean, yeah, there's benefits in that moment for that particular thing, but it's the continuation of making these choices in which you see the maximum growth. And of course, in the beginning, growth is really slow. Change is hard, as I've described here. Like I do little tricks like this now just to remind my brain that I can. And remind my brain that the way I see the world isn't the only way to see the world. Again, I've been so blessed this year to go on so many wonderful travels. And none of them were like initiated by me. None of them were like places that I was like, I sat down and I planned out and I planned to go. Kind of life had its things, supporting my kids, having my new stepmom and my dad invite me on this opportunity to go on a cruise with them at a steal of a price that I literally couldn't say no. And so, again, it's about, making these choices. It's about putting yourself out of your typical comfort zone, which for me happens to be using my right hand. I'm not thinking about it. It just happens. It's like living at home, right? And you just kind of go about your day. It just happens. Like, the alarm goes off, you get out of bed, you eat your breakfast, you take this person to school, you do your work, you pick the person up from school, like it's just kind of like in this automatic autopilot default setting that you don't even really have to think about. You just kind of know what's going to happen next. And so for me, part of the awareness and part of the growth happened when I just figured out that from all these different forces, all these different things, the way my life had lined up, that I really got it, that there could be a different way, like that you and our thought process is not the same. And I went about my life so many years thinking, well, I feel this way and I would respond this way. And I assumed everybody else felt that way. And I assumed everyone else would respond, react, whatever that way. And so when there were deviations of that, it threw my body in it was so confused. It didn't understand, like, how can somebody hurt somebody like that? Like, I would never do something like that. I felt like those words came out of my mouth so often. Like, I would never do that to somebody. Like, how can somebody do that? Like, how do you sleep with yourself at night? Like, I was genuinely curious and confused. Even though I was literally in my 40s, like, I just still did not understand that, give or take a little bit here or there, that everybody wasn't having the same feeling and experience, in the world, and that, I was different, right? Just as much as they were different. Like, we were not all the same. We were not all living this experience in the same way. And it really kind of confused me. I was really curious about it, but I also enlightened me to know that, oh, this isn't the only way to think. And so while there are ways in which I think and respond and react to this world, it isn't the only way. And so learning that, I started to play with little things. Like, I started to play with my environment and test this new concept to me that maybe was well aware to other people. Like, I don't know, I just didn't think about it, I guess. But then once I was like awoken to this new kind of way of being, I started playing with it. So like simple things, I started changing in my life and noticing the results. And again, so I like to play around, and this is just a symbol for what's happening on the inside. So I may not be able to have something I can physically pick up on the inside as I'm adjusting to this new way, but this very much so is a representation of also the changes that are going on inside that aren't always visible to anyone else, that you may know and you may struggle with, like you may be like really trying to play with and practice and make it a new option for you. So I began, I got this clicker with my new ring light, and I was, just automatically always using my right hand. Actually, at first, when I got the clicker, to even use the clicker was this new thing. I was used to pushing the button. So even though the clicker was here, I would push the button. And then I put this where I could see it in a way to prime my environment. So it was this visual cue and reminder, like, oh, here's a more efficient way, or here's an alternative way that you can try. And so I began using the clicker, and it was inconsistent, right? And once I mastered using the clicker as much as I could master using this little clicker, because sometimes it doesn't want to click. And I don't know if it's me, but it also has a mind of its own, apparently. But I, started mastering it. I, was reminded about how I automatically just put it on my right side, put it over here. And so I consciously made the decision mid one stream that I was going to use my left hand. And just like I do with my toothbrush and stuff like that. And so in order to do so, I first had it here, but then I'm like, no, let me put it here. Maybe I first put it here, I don't remember. But putting it on the left side was this visual cue and reminder that, oh, I can use my left side. I don't have to only use the default setting, my right hand, in order to navigate in this world and have success. And so of course it felt very odd. It was slow. I have to think about it. Like, okay, I'm going to use my left hand now. Like, it was a thought, whereas with the right hand, it just happened, right? So it was a really slow process to be able to, pick it up, to push the button. to pick it up and then still not put it into my right hand. Like a lot has went on in a brain level, in a philosophical level, like that allows my body to know, like, I can change. I don't have to do it in the way that is the most easy, that is just the default setting. Now I can. If I'm like, listen, this isn't that deep, I'm going to use the right hand, that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with me going back to using my right hand, or using my right hand now and my left hand tomorrow, and the next day, and then going back to, there's nothing wrong with it. For me personally, it's just this little tiny action that reminds me that I can change if I want to, that I can practice, and that when I start something new, it's not always easy. It doesn't come naturally. It's really can be quite tricky to master, and it doesn't even mean I'm ever going to be as good as doing it this way as I am in this other way, but I can do it, and I can still succeed. So every time I push this button and with my left hand, and the record button comes on, and every time I finally get it to turn off, it's just a reminder that I can do hard things, and that with consistency, with conscious effort, with creating this new habit, it becomes easier and easier. To some days I don't even think about it. I just pick it up, I grab it, and I turn it off. So it's becoming as natural to change and as it was, to stay the same with my right hand. And so I think that that's such a valuable lesson, to find little things within your life that you can play with, like what is it you do that you can kind of shift and make different, that you're always doing the same. And yeah, it's fine. It's working. There's nothing wrong with it. But by telling yourself that I could do a little thing like clicking a button makes the harder things, the bigger things, like I can choose to not yell. I can choose to, communicate my I feel when emotions, when it comes to the more emotionally charged and a little bit more complex things, like I can quit my current job and go find another one. I can end a marriage that is not healthy for me and be happy. Like, it makes your body and your brain know that change is okay, and it's better than okay. Like, it is this remarkable option that's on the table, and it's up to you if you want to change. Now, I do see a lot of times when people change, or even my change in my life has occurred or been prompted by like fear, right? Like, I don't want to lose this person. I need money for my job. Like, if you're operating on a fear-based thing or a threat and you make changes, those changes oftentimes are not sustainable. It's the changes that are facilitated from within you. And you may not know, like on a big level, all the changes, and you don't have to know everything, but just taking those small steps and those actions every single day gets you so much closer. Again, like I've shared on here before, if you're new here, then I will share with you those pictures of me large. I had to print it out because I was doing this thing. And so I printed out a photo. And after I had printed it out, I was like, I don't know what to do with it. Like, I don't want to just throw a picture away. Like, I have this big phobia about it because so many of my pictures were thrown away, lost in my life. So I have this like hoarding tendency, when it comes to pictures, like they're mine. I'm going to make sure they're not lost, stolen, or anything. So to throw away a photo is like, it's like taboo to me. And so I didn't know what to do. I had this picture of me. I was really big. It was something that at that time I was so shameful of myself. And so I'm still so proud and shocked that I even took a photo of myself. I'm like, the girl today is like, I'm so glad there is this visual evidence and proof of all you've accomplished. And so, I had this picture. I didn't know what to do with it. And I was also in a time when I was thinking about, around the time when I was thinking about how there wasn't pictures of me when I grew up. And, I looked around my room, and it was like photos of my kids, photos of my family. It was like photos of everybody else. And if I happened to be in one, that was like, maybe, it was typically ones of just my kids. And it made me think about the fact that there were not photos of me that were put out on display. And so again, like I said, I found these pictures of me and just happened to be like, it's a rarity. I inherited them from my uncle, who had inherited it probably from my grandma, or, maybe actually I think these were my Aunt Betty's. So there were 3 photos, and it was back to back to back. And it was like they had been there all along, and I pulled them out and I put them on my desk or my dresser. And I was like, these photos literally encapsulate everything about me in 3 pictures. Everything about me. And I can in that moment go back and see the smiles, but yet the pensiveness inside. I could see the happiness and the joy, but also the pain. Like I could see it all. I could see the goofy, quirky part, like showing the missing teeth. I could show, the one that's just smiling and put like, I could see the one on the swing who's like in thought. Like they were just some beautiful photos. So those were also out. And so at this time, I had come out recently. And again, I really wanted to celebrate this version of me. And I was like, hey, maybe nobody knew or thought of to just put you on display. But I want to say, like, I see you and I love you, and everything you've gone through at this, that's been a challenge. You didn't deserve to go through that. And you're really strong, and you're really brave, and you're really courageous, and you impact lives in the most beautiful way. And I appreciate you for showing up as you. And I know that sometimes me, like, I that is like who I am at my core. Like I want to unite. I want everybody to feel, welcome and loved and everything. And I know that sometimes like my life gets in the way, like my perspective about how, the things that have been done to me that have been wronged, or seeing somebody wronged. And then I get very, very like defensive. And like, when I'm feeling disrespected, like, my experiences of life then cause this like alter, emotions to come out that isn't my true me, but it's just this form that like wants to protect that like sweet, innocent and kind and generous part of me. And it doesn't know anything other than being, kind of rough about it. And so this process has taught me to really like understand and have this awareness, like, why isn't I'm yelling right now? Like, what's going on? Why am I frustrated in the car when somebody's cutting me off? And like, it all suddenly starts to make sense when I have this sense of curiosity about why I'm behaving a certain way, and this desire, my why, to really reconnect and be like in harmony with that inner part of me that is the true me. That is the part that, dance brings out in me. When I go to my dance classes, it's not just about the dancing. Yes, the dancing is great, but it's about this feeling of getting to be that kid and feel free. And again, even in there's been less than 5, right? But there's been a couple times where I felt threatened or hurt, or a friend of mine or the instructor was, and suddenly that mama bear is coming out and ready to roar, And so what I've learned, I've shared here recently, a couple weeks ago, a young man was being, treated poorly in my presence. And, my initial reaction is, like to know how to pop off, right? That's my right hand. I would, like, listen, whose butt do I need to kick? Like, what is what's going on? Like, nuh-uh, like, don't treat somebody this way, and come off like really rough and gruff. And so really in that split second time, not having a lot of time to analyze, like having the debate, like, do I say something? And I'm like, hell yeah, we're saying something. Or, the thing was like, just be quiet, just be quiet. Just don't say anything at all. And neither one of those options felt good. So finally, coming to a place where in the middle, it was that Goldilocks things, because I've tried this way and I've tried it this way, saying, where I've popped off and I've tried and it wasn't effective, and I've tried not saying anything and that wasn't effective and it didn't feel right. Like neither one of those felt in alignment. But finding a way to practice communication in a calm, focused manner, and understand, like, I'm not under attack, he's not necessarily under attack, we don't know the full story, but to be able to still stand up for what is right was really important for me at that time. And so that's part of the learning process. That's where, popping off might have been my right hand result, my right hand default, setting that was programmed in. and the be quiet, listen and all that stuff, and defend, and maybe she's having a tough day, just this isn't your business, stay out of it. That was kind of a left-handed thing. And learning how to merge the two and know how they can work in unison and as a team to have the results I want is important. And so that's where the gift of trying things different and doing things different, as small as clicking a button to making a decision on to pop off or not on somebody, is where you experience the growth, where I've experienced the growth. So again, I say this morning, like after I was done with my meditation, when I was doing some of my running, I took a look up and I saw that photo of me, and I saw the photo. There's another photo I had to print of me, and so it's more me nowadays. And then I also looked in the mirror, and I'm just like, wow, like I literally was high-fiving the girl up there that was belly hanging out and taking the photo. And I was like, that version of me changed my life. Like, she made a choice that made my life today 1,000% better, made my life 1,000% healthier, she did it. And it was that little choice that she made. And that day she had the choice, to sit on the couch, watch bonbons go in my belly, and watch Oprah, or change. And that girl chose change. And she chose that was going to be the day one. It wasn't someday, one day. Today was the day one. And she did that. And because of that, my life today is better. And so I thank her. I have so much gratitude. I'm like, hell yeah. Why wouldn't you be celebrated? Why wouldn't you be hanging on my wall? Why am I going to shove you in a drawer, burn you, rip it up, whatever it is? Of all the photos and of all the moments in my life that I've experienced, one of the most proud moments that I'm so glad I captured was that one. And the funny thing is, for so long, that photo would have caused me immense shame and disgust and disappointment and anger and sadness and every negative emotion you can possibly conjure up. And now I look at it with such a fresh perspective. I look at her with different eyes. There is so much love and compassion and adoration and pride. I'm so proud of her. And I'm so proud of myself for each and every day in between, for choosing me, for choosing to show up, not only for others, but also myself, and to give myself just a piece of the love I was giving to everyone else. And so I say all this to say, change isn't easy. I will never sit here and say that along this journey, it has been completely pain-free. It has not. It has not been easy either. So if you're looking up for a pain-free, easy option, this just isn't for you. You need to have the courage to understand it's not always going to be easy. But if you want the change, it will always be worth it. It'll be worth it. And even though you're in pain, you are also blessed with so much joy and peace and pain-free experiences in the journey. And, I just, again, I love connections. I love talking to people more than anything on this earth. There's just something so magical about learning about these different perspectives. Every conversation I have with someone, I take away something from it. As a little conversation, a big conversation, the way one makes eye contact, the way, one moves their body, what they're sharing, what they're, receiving, how they're receiving it, how they're sharing. All these things are just such beautiful, beautiful ways to connect with another human. And so I'm just so grateful for this life that I get to live. I am so grateful for today. I'm so grateful for today because you know what? Today I was today is a 10-minute meditation kind of day. And I loved it. Today I was like, my 10-minute morning walk is a 20-minute morning walk kind of day. Like the seasons are changing. Like it is not quite fall yet, but the other day it felt like summer. Like on Monday, I think it felt like summer, but then we went someplace that was cold, so it felt like damn winter. And then today it felt like fall. And it's just this reminder again that the seasons are changing. And so I really have been taking time to stop and really admire this beautiful tree across the street that is home to the most beautiful songbirds that like delight my airways all the time. And most of the time I'm cognizant of it. Other times they're just playing in the background. And I know that those leaves will soon be falling. And I'm going to miss them. So I'm really going to enjoy and admire the lushness of the tree. And although I may not see, the hilly ridge that's hidden behind it, I really do appreciate how beautiful that tree is. For so long, that tree used to irritate the hell out of me. Like it was just big. It was a home to black crows. And again, I love birds, but I cannot stand the squawk of a black crow. I literally, they get on my nerves so badly. But now it's home to this most beautiful sounding birds that like delight my life so many times a day. And I'm so grateful for that. And so I really, really, really want to appreciate where I'm at and understand that things are changing, whether we want them to or not. And relationships are changing, and environmental factors are changing. And a lot of it is out of our control. But there is one thing in this we can control. And it's myself. I had a conversation with my mom on my birthday, and my mom was like, well, that's just because you want to control everything. And I was like, no, that is where you have me misunderstood. I do not want to control everything. I never did. As a young girl, I was put in an environment, no hate, no shame, I forgive. Like I understand. You all were also doing the best you could. This was your best. It was no intention to harm me. But my life situation forced me to be in a situation where I needed to be in control in order to survive. It wasn't a desire. I wasn't like, I want to be controlling. No, I had to take control of the situations around me in order to survive. And obviously it's my mom, so she takes quite offense, and she was like, well, you didn't tell me you needed to go to the doctor, and you didn't do these things. I'm like, I'm 8 years old, walking my butt to a doctor's appointment. Who am I supposed to call? You weren't here and you weren't around. What am I supposed to do? And she's like, well, you didn't tell me. And I said, I didn't know I was supposed to, and so again, it was like trying to push, I wasn't saying she's at fault or my dad's at fault. It just was what it was. And I'm okay with that. But that's where it came from. And then the control came from me not having this ability to count on anyone else but myself. And so once I stopped trying to control others and situations that, quite frankly, I don't have any control over, the only thing I have control over is me. And so even when we're in a difficult situation, when my son's having heart surgery or brain surgery or knee surgery or hernia surgery or ear surgery or, all the surgeries that we've been under here, the one thing I've learned is even in those difficult times, there is so much beauty. If I look at it from my default setting way, we're in survival mode. It's scary. It's filled with fear. We don't know what's going to happen. We're on edge. We're anxious. We're doing this. We're doing that. But if I use my left hand and I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. And I have faith and I have belief that everything does happen exactly the way it's supposed to happen. And in this situation, there is a lesson. The lesson is human kindness is beautiful. That in order to even just have the privilege of having a modern day surgery, there were hundreds of people that helped along the way. Nurses, anesthesiologists, the people that washed the bedding, insurance companies. There were so many people supporting us along the way that we were never alone. And focusing on that immediately relieves so much of the stress, it doesn't go away. Of course, your kid's under the knife and someone's playing with their brain right now. Like, yeah, that's scary. But shifting your focus, changing your outlook on things makes a big change on who you are as a person and how you represent yourself and navigate this world. And having this different perspective has made me grow in my appreciation for just the most average things and want to share the most delightful parts of myself. And so I say all of this to say, thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm so proud of you. I really am. Like, your curiosity and your willingness to stick with me from watching where we just start and these small starts and continually doing it and knowing it's not perfectly produced and edited and scripted, that you know this is authentic. It's coming from the heart. And yes, some things may get repeated because they're worth repeating and they're worth you hearing over and over again till you're like, aha, I got it. And now you're sharing that same information with somebody else. And there you go. Circle of life. That is the ripple and wave effect that we are looking for, people. So thank you so much. Please go out there. Give somebody a big smile. Give them a compliment and just watch how they glow up. So go out there today, use your non-dominant hand, make those changes in your life that you deserve so you can live the life of your dreams. Take care. Mwah.